Hi everyone. I hope you enjoyed the first panels of the morning. So for the last discussion, we are going to do a one-to-one session with Olivier Jollet. Olivier, thank you very much for joining us today. We have different topics to address about FAST that include content, advertising, and also CTV manufacturers. But first, to begin with, could you share with us the key elements that have been defining your strategy at Pluto TV over the last month?
Sure. First, thanks for welcoming me. It's great to be at IFA today. Look, I think what is quite interesting, obviously, is if you think about the history of Pluto TV, we launched actually Pluto TV now 9 years ago, 2014 in the US first. And obviously, at this time, no one was thinking about FAST, no one was thinking about free ad-supported streaming, about linear consumption. It was more the contrary, because the time when Netflix was rolling out internationally, and probably everyone was thinking that future of TV was more SVOD on demand, and obviously without advertising. The story has proven that there was another path to go beside SVOD. We are now the leading FAST service with 80 million monthly active users. The company was acquired by Paramount in 2019, and we've been rolling out Pluto TV in more than 35 markets. And to answer your question, I think more precisely, there's a couple of elements which are critical to launch a country. The first one is we never launch a market going with a US-only offering, and we're a US company, but we are really bringing a very localized offering. Localized offering means a localized content proposition, which is not only dub content, but really like making the best of international content and the best of local content. So really having this global approach. We have a global strategy as Paramount, a global strategy for Pluto, but when we go in the market, we analyze deeply what will be the success factors. Content is one of them. Having team on the ground is important, understanding the culture, understanding the watching behaviors of each countries, understanding the marketing message. US, when you go with free TV, is a different meaning than when you go with free TV in the European market, where there is a big free TV already, like especially in Germany or UK and things like that. Localized marketing approach is important. And then also like localized or local partnerships. So obviously, distribution is key. We just announced, we're going to talk about that, a partnership with TP Vision, making Pluto available in 25 markets on all the Philips smart TVs. But we also close local partnership with big companies such as Virgin Media, Deutsche Telekom in Germany, to make the app available on those set-top boxes. So this is really like what I would say, having a global approach and key local partnerships on distribution and on content.
So GLOCAL is obviously a very important aspect of your strategy. Do you have recent examples of how this concept translates into, for instance, as you said, content, into the UX, and also into the partnerships?
Yeah, I think one of the partnerships we closed recently is, I think, a remarkable partnership, one with Viaplay in the Nordics. So Viaplay, you all know that it's the leading media company in the Nordics, and they've been running a free AVOD service called Viafree. And when we started discussions, they're like, look, let's build that free streaming market together. So they shut down the platform, integrated everything within the Pluto TV UX with a dedicated branded zone. And I think it's been like an incredible success in the Nordics. So to launch really Pluto TV in partnership with Viaplay, they're the ones selling our advertising. We have a lot of content coming from them. It's one of these powerhouse when it comes to content production. And this, this mix between local content from Viaplay with the international content from Paramount and all the third party we work with were very important. We replicate this model as well in Canada with Chorus. Is a great example. But I could also quote a lot of great partners we work with, from ZDF in Germany, Mediaset in Spain, Media One in France. Those are examples of really strong local partners providing content. And when it comes to the UX, because you asked the question, the product is the same across the world, but obviously, as the content is different, the categorization will be different. So the EPG will be completely different if you're in Germany or in Italy or in the US. So we are really spending a lot of time, the teams, in making sure the categorization, the way we talk to the users within the product is different, but the core UX is the same.
Okay. Getting back to the content, a topical discussion is to know whether FAST operators will launch their own content. So Pluto doesn't produce original content, but how do you give your viewers a sense of exclusivity on the platform?
Yeah, I mean, Pluto is, is part of Paramount. Paramount is one of the biggest production companies in the world. I think we're producing for 14 billion content per year. And obviously, within the Paramount ecosystem, we work a lot on the windowing strategy, so making sure, obviously, that we are able to leverage this amazing content that we are producing, either with, library content, which obviously is only available on Pluto TV for free. Things like the CSI and the Star Trek of this world, SpongeBob, South Park, are all IPs which belong to Paramount, and obviously a key driver of success for us. And then I think we have also access to, via those partnerships, to amazing content. So we launch in partnership with Viaplay an exclusive reality show, Paradise Hotel, in Sweden. Paradise Hotel is one of the most successful reality dating show in Sweden, and it was exclusively available on Pluto TV. Another example is what we did with Big Brother in Argentina and Chile, where Big Brother were running on Telefe, which is our main free-to-air channels, the main show, but the 24/7 shows were, with all the cameras, with all the things happening during the night and so on, was only available on Pluto, driving like crazy numbers. So we had like more than 3 million monthly active users on that specific channels in Chile, which is only 19 million inhabitants. So huge success. So that's example when we talk about content. First, we have access to great content thanks to the fact that we belong to Paramount. The second aspect I want to talk about is curation. Curation is a key aspect in our work. The biggest team is our editorial team at Pluto TV, beside the tech team. They're the one really taking the content and creating a watching experience which is different country by country. And the channels that you have on Pluto are unique. They're really created for that specific audience. We are also probably taking a slightly different approach than other competitors. We're not licensing, or we have a couple of pre-programmed channels. We are the one curating the channels for our audience because we know what our audience wants and how they consume based on all the data that we are gathering. So I think curation is a key topic, and then the second part is really playing with the windowing strategy, playing with exclusivity, and then I will say, will we go with original content? I don't know. We just announced recently in Brazil a show which will be exclusive on Pluto TV, which is produced in partnership with Tinder, which is a dating show, so more branded content. So that's also a path to think about. But I think producing or commissioning content for Pluto is not part of our strategy so far.
So you were mentioning scripted shows and unscripted shows, but there is a specific type of content that's interesting to address is sports. So you recently had partnerships with DAZN in Germany, for instance. What is your strategy at Pluto TV regarding sports?
Well, I think what is important is like what people ask us, what do you do? We do TV. And I think when you said that, we're trying to tackle all the different niche and from mainstream to niche content. I think what is interesting with sports, there's a lot of niche sports which are not easy to find or not available on TV, not available on paid streaming service. And I think we're trying to evaluate those kind of opportunities. We are streaming, for example, in Latam, the Copa Libertadores Femeninas, which is the women part of the Copa Libertadores, which is the equivalent of the Champions League. And that's a great topic. And we close, as you said, like a partnership with DAZN, which enable us to have like dedicated DOT channels. DOT is huge in Germany in partnership with DAZN. So, and also an international football channel. So in that case, you have also live games from La Liga and French League and so on. But you have also summary of games. So that's I think an important development. I would not say it's the core business is sport. I think that's a lot of the sports, and especially when you go premium, is more under the paywall. But I think there is opportunities in certain niche sports, which I think is that we are exploring. But I would not say it's the priority. But we start seeing, more and more players going also with fast channels in the sports world.
So it's much more an opportunity-based approach, depending on the territories.
Yeah, and it fits to like trying to reach certain audiences, creating stickiness. The beauty of sports is that people are coming on a regular basis. If you and that's something which is interesting in sports. You have existing fan base, but in a way, you could compare like a DOT audience with a Western audience. It's all about attracting the right audience and making sure you are building a content offering which fit to those audiences.
Besides content, the other FAST pillar is obviously advertising. So how can FAST players make advertisers more comfortable with the reach of FAST compared to traditional broadcasters?
Well, I think everything takes time. So I think when you have a look at the evolution of Pluto TV, when in 2019 when the company was acquired, we were making around 70 million in ad revenues. By 2020, at the end of 2021, we already overpassed the 1 billion in ad revenues. So within 3 years, you saw like the crazy growth story. Clearly was mainly driven by the US, and the US advertising market is more advanced than the European one or the LATAM one. But what we see is that what is happening in the US is coming with a slight delay to international. I think what is important is to convince and educate the advertisers about the value of this inventory. Over 90% of the conception of FAST at Pluto is taking place on the big screen, on CTV. That's where we put our focus. It is the experience for on the user side is, it means that you're sitting on the couch, you're watching TV, it is full screen, it is the audio is on, it is the advertising are stitched into the into the content, so in an ad break. So what is the difference between traditional TV and advertising and CTV? Not that much in a way, except that you can target more and you can measure better as well. So at the end, when the advertisers start to understand that, then they start pushing more and more budget towards CTV. That's the trend that we see, not only at Pluto. I think all the players here in the room are seeing that trend. And I'm very, very optimistic about the evolution of advertising, because it is offering some better visibility, some better measurement, some better targetability for advertisers. And that is becoming obviously more and more important, and especially if you want to compete against the big one that I won't quote on stage, but they're taking right now 70–80% of the digital ad market. So it's important to also offer similar tools for the advertisers.
Yeah, another trend about advertising is, that Netflix wants to roll out ads that would be like real shows. Roku invested in a brand content studio, and as you mentioned, you planned to introduce a program that is in partnership with Tinder. How big is creative advertising a topic at Pluto TV?
I mean, it's a topic. I mean, look, the funny thing is that it's nothing new in all what we talk about. It's been there for decades. I mean, product placement has always been there, you know, and it's been a big part of how you are funding a movie, you know. Think about James Bond and how many product placement you have. So you're not like rethinking entirely the value chains when we talk about branded content. I think the fact that you know, a company like Netflix and Mover is moving helps the industry to you know, create a movement, and I think there is great opportunities for brands there into to that extent. But the core business remain like the selling video inventory, which is the core format that we have on the platform.
As you mentioned, you were Pluto is part of the Paramount group, so you have assets in SVOD with Paramount Plus. You have assets in free-to-air TV as well with Telefe in Argentina. How do you leverage a streaming ecosystem with those three different assets?
Well, I think you know, we see our strategy as really not like there's not a Pluto strategy, there's not a Paramount Plus strategy. We have a Paramount strategy, and we see that as an ecosystem. Just talking about streaming, what is interesting is that all the market studies, there's very good studies from Omdia showcasing by 2027, half of the streaming revenue will come from advertising. The other half will come from subscription. So that's a big market, obviously. And at Paramount, we have the chance that we have an amazing paid streaming product with Paramount Plus, with obviously all the top scripted production which are under the paywall. And we have Pluto TV, which is entirely free for the users, addressing different user base. Some of them are using the two products, but we do a lot of synergies between the two. We recently premiered in Canada the first episode of Lioness, which is our special ops Lioness, our new original content, amazing one, can only recommend. And then the goal was to drive subscription, obviously, to Paramount Plus, using the reach that we have on Pluto TV and making this first episode for free. So that's an example. When a user is churning from P+, we're trying to bring him to Pluto, so keep it in the family. And then we have the broadcast business. The broadcast business is important. You know, we are transitioning to the company. The broadcast business is stagnating, but we have so much opportunities. I mentioned obviously the Telefe example with Gran Hermano. We're doing a lot with Channel 5 in the UK, or with Network 10 in Australia. So we're really trying to leverage all the power that we have in-house from the different brands, the different content. That is also like a way to bring this local content. So those three pillars within the company is like production, broadcast, and streaming works extremely well, closely together to obviously build the future of the company.
Okay, right. Before I ask my last question to Olivier, if some of you have questions, we can handle you a microphone and he will answer. Right, so my last question will be...
No question. Come on.
Not for now. Okay. Yes, we know that more and more TV manufacturers are rolling their own FAST platforms. So what is your perspective on actors such as Samsung TV Plus, who are now becoming both allies and competitors?
Yeah, that was the same question before in the panel, the frenemies question. Look, I think you know, we work very closely with all the manufacturers. As I mentioned before, we just announced a big partnership with Philips and TP Vision, enabling us to have our application and Pluto reaching way more audience. You know, obviously the manufacturers, they also start launching their own products. We're part of that story as well. We are working together. So, you know, I think, I don't think that we are enemy in a way. We are partnering very well together. We have different, strengths. So I think that's, and look, a bit competition is also good. Obviously, the access to the living room is important, and that's also the reason why we partner with everyone. Our app is available on all the major devices, and that's our ambition, to really reach the users where they are. And we work with all of them in a very collaborative way. Even if on certain areas we are competing for content, to have the best channels and so on, some of them are also available on the two platforms or on the different platforms. But altogether, I think I personally believe that having more players in this space is good. It helps making the market bigger. And that's what we actually want, is make the market bigger, convince the advertisers to move more dollars to FAST. And having manufacturers, independent media companies having their own product, independent local companies, I think is important to boost the business.
Right. Thank you very much, Olivier, for joining us today.
Thank you.
It was very interesting. Now we invite you to a lunch and a networking session sponsored by Xperi. So thank you for listening this morning, and we see you this afternoon.